This is a comprehensive guide for the first map of the Fall 2021 campaign. We start with the chicane where you just drive as straight as possible. Upon exit, face very slightly to the left. Always stop steering far enough ahead of losing ground contact if you do not want to rotate in midair. This will be relevant 3 times during this run. You will now be in the water bath, which is a good spot to make small adjustments. After drying off your tires in the dirt and being very careful with your steering until back on asphalt, enter the corner from the left side of the road and start steering at the last flagpole. Then release steering slightly to avoid crashing on the inside. This is not the fastest way, but it is the easiest. Set yourself up so that at the end of the straight you are in the middle of the road. Do not steer on the water and be careful until after the dirt. This is the hardest part of the run. Back on asphalt, hold left and only release if you are going to crash otherwise. If you see more than 2 tire marks behind your car at this point, you can reset. This would be caused by steering too aggressively on dirt. To make this last part as easy as possible, head to the left of the visible road border and align yourself somewhat straight. I hope you never let go of the throttle or touch the brake during this run. Now, I will tell you how to improve on this time, starting with the easiest stuff. Instead of aligning yourself to the left of the road border near the end, aim to hit the lower road from the right. This is relatively easy and you can do it even in your author time. Practice by resetting to the last checkpoint multiple times. To clean up your lines, drive as straight as possible and take corners almost hitting the border on the inside without releasing steering. In the first turn, there are 3 points where you should almost be touching. In the last one, there's only 1. For further improvements, you need action keys on keyboard, and I'm not even sure how easy it is to do them at all on controller. Write this in the comments if you know. Action keys allow you to reliably give a percentage steering input. You might be able to do this on a controller if you are really precise. Every time a run starts, your action keys are off, which is action key 0. Use action keys 3 right at the beginning to get comfortable with it and to clean up your lines. Turn them back off after the first jump. In the waterbound section after the first corner, you can wiggle your steering with action keys on, which will gain you speed for some reason. This speed increase makes the following corner kind of impossible to take, which can be resolved by bouncing on the wall. In order to do this, align yourself towards the corner between road and water. Now wiggle back and forth relatively quickly and be sure to end on the right steering input before hitting the wall as late as possible. Be sure not to press any buttons other than throttle during this bounce. Turn off action keys and steer shortly after leaving the dirt patch, giving you a nose slide which can be recognized by there only being 2 tire tracks. If you don't get tire tracks, you probably steered too late, but you might still be fine for now. If you get a slide, you steered too early. If the car doesn't bounce, you probably missed the plastic which is next to the water only. If you miss your alignment, you can save it by favoring one side of the wiggle at the beginning, which saved my PV. Be sure you are comfortable with this before attempting the last improvements, since this section will get much tighter with the additional speed we will be having. A lot of good ones will be lost to not making the corner. You have to bounce late and still almost hit the inside of the following corner, giving you the steepest possible entry. Getting the right amount of bounce still feels very random and I have no idea why I succeed or fail an attempt on this. Now the hardest part. Turn on action keys at the beginning, but instead of heading to the left after the chicane, turn back to the right, staying close to the border the entire time. Jump off right next to the road border while facing very slightly to the right, causing you to bounce on the road border next to the water. Hold left steering until you bounce. Turn off action keys and don't worry if you lose less than 100th to the first checkpoint. If you are still behind by the second one, the bounce didn't work. Your car is supposed to be faster, which wins in the long run. Enter the first corner from as far left as possible to account for the additional speed. Give a small left tap right as you lose ground contact when jumping off the ramp, causing a very minor rotation to the left, allowing you to land as straight as possible rather than facing to the right slightly. While this will fail most of the time, it does not feel random. If you land too far left, you don't bounce, because tires don't bounce on plastic. If you land too far right, your car bounces uncontrollably. If you land so that your left tire is in the water and the underbody of the car hits the edge of the road border without facing right or left too much, you will get a perfect bounce every single time. You can probably do this, just try. I'm not actually that good at this game myself, and it can take me more than 5 hours to get an author time on a black track. It is not actually that difficult. Now the last improvement, which is a bit easier than the bounce we just talked about, but makes for a much smaller time save. When I read the comment section on Amaterasu's video, I not only found out that action keys 3 is probably best, but there was also mention of it potentially being faster to bounce on the road border at the end instead of jumping into the water. To try this out, I did a bunch of runs without any of the tricks and reset to the last checkpoint until I managed to get a good bounce. Then I did a normal run where I just jumped to the water. I made sure that the speed of the car and the lines taken were as similar as possible, but I do have a 1 tire no slide from the checkpoint in the attempt with the bounce. This shows a 0.04 seconds time save if you assume that the 1 tire no slide and minimal speed difference only had a small impact. This is with a lower speed than if you were to do the tricks from earlier as well. Due to being such a hard trick, this is probably not worth it unless you're already at world record pace and your lines are clean and your other tricks are perfect. I hope this was comprehensive enough. Here's my PB and an example auto run.